And here we are with game 2 of the January 2024 Beginner Tack Tournament quarterfinals match between Spawnoza and the one-rogue. If they're jumping right into it with adjacent corner opening here, this is Spawnoza in white and the one-rogue in black. We saw in game 1, the one-rogue won that game. Very difficult to say. Game 1, game, all that stuff. Won that game, was victorious. I'll say that. Was victorious. And Spawnoza needs to win this to push it on to a blitz tiebreaker, I believe is how we're doing that. So, really, pressure is on here for Spawnoza. Ooh, a great spot here for that capstone, opening up for Spawnoza to drop that cap, and he does it. He did the exact same thing in game 1 with a really, really great capstone placement. Now we'll see if he's able to capitalize on it, or if the one-rogue will be able to get some sneaky shenanigans in like last time. If you haven't watched the first game, definitely do that. And because now there's spoilers, the one-rogue wins with a sneaky threat in game 1 and just living up to their namesake with the one-rogue there. So sneaky, sneaky rogue going for sneaky threats and pulling it off. So let's see. Black playing up at d5. I kind of see what they're going for with that, I think. It's a tough position to be in, honestly. White's in a pretty good spot. Having that capstone out first is just so strong. It puts you so far ahead early on in the game. That early capstone is just, it's really hard to tell who's doing better in a game when only one person has a capstone out, because it's almost always going to be whoever has the capstone out is in a much better position. And so you can't really tell, oh, is this going to go this way or that way until that second cap drops. All right, let's see. Ooh, going for the F5, it looks like. Blocking that vertical. White's okay with that. I don't know. This isn't a. It's the way this works out. Typically, it works out pretty okay for black. Um, this sort of patterning and the order in which these stones are played and how this thread is going to go, it works pretty okay in black's favor. Especially now because black has this capstone to play. If yeah, it just feels pretty good, to be honest. Now black can make the play here at f1. Black can make the play up here at c5, d6, whatever, or it can even come down already with this e6 flat onto e5 to sort of cut that off and go for that horizontal threat. And that's exactly what they do here. They do have a capstone that they can drop if a wall gets dropped to sort of protect this big stack. Because if, for example, e4 comes up, a capstone can drop and protect that. And e4 is honestly a great spot for that. But this wall dropping here makes it a lot more difficult because a capstone can drop, sure, but it's not going to be able to protect this piece because there's nowhere to drop it. So what you could do is drop the cap at c5, continuing along for this horizontal threat. When the wall comes down, you come right onto your own, make a hard cap. They can't make that road threat yet. So you're able to go ahead and smash that or do whatever you want to keep that position strong. And basically by having this capstone drop here and come over on a d5, you have shut down this vertical threat option. However, white's just going to shift gears, go for their own horizontal here. they can capture down with e4 onto e3, or place over here at c3 and just kind of keep going along. They've got this capstone spot protecting that. So makes it a little tough. Makes it a little tough for sure. Ooh, interesting place for the capstone. I don't know that I agree with that. The reason why, you've got a lot of your material up here at the top, and you put your capstone away from it all at the bottom. A lot of the action is going on up here at the top, and you put your capstone away from it all at the bottom. Yes, you can come over and interrupt this in a very permanent feeling way, but it just doesn't feel great. It feels a little off. Now, what you might want to do is make a self-capture up here onto E3, bring that over to the right, and you can really mess that up. You might just want to continue on. Okay, he's going for the vertical threat, or she's going for the vertical threat here. Playing an E1 next is a road threat. But it's not a particularly strong one. Very, very easy to block that. So maybe hoping for something being missed yet again. I have a feeling Spawnoza is going to be paying extra special attention in this game and will be very unlikely to miss another threat. All right, white does capture down, interrupts the ability to make a threat there. White is able to make a threat here by placing at e6. Would be a drawbridge threat. Black again could come up with the self-capture. I don't think that's going to be a particularly sought-after move here. I don't know, it just doesn't seem super great. But you could bring that over onto f2. Instead, you could bring the f5 down to f4, but that doesn't feel good either. You could drop a flat at e6, even, to cut that ability to make that threat off. Maybe coming up onto e3 is the best move here. It doesn't feel super great, but that might be the play, because you're threatening to smash that wall at e5. Okay, so she does do it. She comes up onto e3, ready to smash that wall on e5. If white comes to the right with that stack, black can come to the right and threaten the stack yet again, and also cut off the vertical threat. So it does seem multi-purpose. That hard capstone looks pretty good to me. Pretty good to me, I'd say. White probably trying to think of what to do to get out of this. I'm just gonna make the threat. Not worried about it. Okay, go ahead and smash it there, black. That's a great spot for you to smash. It sets up the horizontal threat. It breaks the vertical threat. It looks great to me. Freely goes for it. Now, all of a sudden, black's position is significantly stronger than white's was. White was in a position of power before. Black now has control of this game. It is looking very good for black, which is interesting considering how far behind it seemed black was just a moment ago. So I think that self-capture was the right play. I also think, not to say that the self-capture was so good that it would inevitably lead to this, but also I think that e6 placement on turn 11 for white, playing up here just wasn't a great play. It really just allowed black to make that capture and smash freely without any punishment whatsoever that could be done to it. So white comes up here. I think as black, you just make your play in the horizontal. You play up at c6 or c5. That works also. I liked c6 more because it's more defendable, because white can come up onto d5 to cut that off. Granted, white may decide to throw that capstone to the right onto f4 and go for a hard capstone threat up in the vertical direction. Not a great play because black just come to the right with their capstone to block that off, and then white's capstone is stuck against the wall. Right? Not a great position to be in. So yeah, black's doing fine here, but yeah, coming up with the d4 capstone stack onto d5 is a way to cut black off from making that horizontal threat now. It would have been a lot more difficult to do that if, well, it would have saved more momentum. It would have been just as hard to stop it, just as easy to stop the threat if black had played up at c6, but it makes it easier for black to gain momentum back if they had played c6 instead of c5. Because if white comes up onto d5, you're going to need to play c6 eventually, no matter what. And that, I think, is the difference. Unless you decide to go under and play at d4, which is the other option, is to play at d4 where that capstone comes from. White drops the wall instead. Now this is where, if I'm black, I'm dropping at b6. Now you don't want to drop at b5. Dropping at b5 continues the threat, sure. b6 is way better because now this wall can't come down and it can't come right. If you want to stop it, you've got to either drop another wall or bring that wall left, or bring this capstone up. So you might be forcing your opponent to drop 2 walls here, and they do not want to drop 2 walls. Trust me on this one. White brings that capstone up. This is where I expect black will drop a flat at d4 to go around under the bottom. And also just cut white off from bringing that capstone into play on the right-hand side of the board. That's always going to be in play until you make a spread move to kind of cover these up. This is sort of all that white has going for him right now. And it's interesting, if you take a look at game 1 when when Spawnoza was playing as black, he did a very similar thing. He stuck to essentially an edge scroll, one vertical threat on one side of the board for essentially the whole game. And we've seen that the The1Rogue didn't do that in the previous game. They are sticking more to a single direction here, but leaving themselves with a lot more options than white has at this point. And black is free to continue playing down, perhaps at d3, whether that be to continue on for the vertical threat or to just move around that white flat at c4. They are not in a bad spot here. Now, I also like setting up instead of playing it. See, I don't like this c3 because it's like they're playing for a capture later, and you don't want to play for a capture later. You want to play for flats so you can force your opponent to make a capture that works against them. So playing for the capture later doesn't work as well here. Playing at d3 would have been a nice sort of protector move, but also playing up at b5 would have been nice. Playing at b5 is essentially pinning that capstone. So if you play at b5, that capstone can't come down onto d4. It's stuck because otherwise it'll just leave you with a road. White playing at b4 themselves. Now black is playing at b5. This is the pin that I was talking about. This does pin it. Now, it also is making a road threat. c3 coming up onto c4 would be a horizontal road for black. I'm sure white sees that. Again, white probably being extra cautious and paying attention to anything that could be remotely sneaky here in this game after losing the last one. This is where we might see a flat played at b4 for black. Yep, flat played at b4. Now this could be to renew the pin. It could also be to make a threat with perhaps a c4 plus. But black's in a solid position here. This is looking really good for black. Now, I will say this is probably going to be the final beginner tournament for both of these players. They were both very, very close to basically being overqualified for this beginner tournament. Um, ooh, this is a really great wall. That is a really great wall, leaving no opportunity for black to smash it. Black going ahead, making that threat. White's going to come up with that wall, cut that threat off. But black can't smash because it'll lead to a road for white. Black might need to shift gears here, go for the vertical threat on the left-hand side of the board. Play over at a5 and just kind of play down on the left-hand side for the vertical. That capstone could be some trouble later on, but I don't know. I think that it's a viable play here. Do have to be careful that you don't give white that vertical on the right-hand side, though. But I think that black ends up having a little bit more momentum, and it works out for him. I think they needed to play at a5, though, because white playing at a5 is just too good at messing up that threat. It looks like black might still be trying to go for a horizontal threat here, and I think that black needed to have shifted gears already. Switching directions is a big part of tack, and knowing when to switch those directions is paramount. If you are kind of stuck in your one threat single minded, you're going to get outplayed when somebody adapts more to the board positioning than you do. Tack has um, a lot of tactical play to it when it comes to switching your direction of your threat and things like that and adapting to the board. While it also has a ton of strategic depth in terms of setting up your overall game plan, playing for flats and things like that, and playing against these certain captures. Really, really strategic in that way. but the tactical play also is very, very big in tack. Let's see. Now, based on what we've seen so far, I expect black to play it. Oh, totally different. I expected black to play at d3. But playing at b2 is good. I like playing at b2. b2 looks good to me. What is white's play here? I don't think white wants to play. Yeah, white can play at d3, I think. Yeah, white playing at d3 isn't bad at all. You can go for the horizontal threat that way, capturing up onto d4. You do have that wall up at c6 that can come left onto b6 if black plays at b1 to sort of cut off that vertical line. Black fills in at c6 after that, and you just come up onto d4 and it works. White a little premature, I think, coming up with that, but black, what's their play? Are they going to play at d3 now? That'll shift gears back towards the horizontal a little bit if they play at d3. I think they can set up a really nice sort of Tinuay if they get a3 and b1 played. But again, very difficult to be able to do that with all of what white's doing at the same time. White's close enough to erode that counting on something like that to work just wouldn't make any sense. But I don't know. We'll see something here. I do think d3 is the most likely move to be played here by black. No, going for the b1. Hmm. Do they know something I don't? Oh, maybe. Maybe. Oh, yeah. I think black has the momentum to set that up, to make the a3 play first. Unless white does something crazy. I think they can make it work. And what I'm thinking of basically is if black plays at a3 here, they can then bring up a4 onto a5 and make the threat by capturing or by placing at a4, and that's essentially game. But instead, white comes left with the wall, making the threat. Placing at e4 would be a road. Black, I think, should drop a wall at e4. The wall at e4, I think, is the play. Then you can come left onto that d4 stack. I think that works. You don't want to do a flat there. It's too easy to get all muddled. I think a flat works, and you don't want to move that capstone for sure. You move that capstone at all, and you lose immediately. So I think the wall at e4 is the play here. But I'm not sure if we've even seen any walls from the 1Rogue so far in these two games. at least. So we'll see what that's all about. And white's capstone also can't move because it ends up in a road for black. So that's at least something that's nice for black. But I think a wall at e4 is the ideal play here for black. Unless I'm missing something. But I don't think I am. Not right now, anyway. I often miss things, but I don't think I'm missing anything right now. Wall at e4. And then what does black do? If black just plays at d3, you come left with the wall. Oh, I don't think that was the play. I don't think that was the play at all. That is, in fact, the wrong play. If you were going to make any capture, you would have wanted to do a4 plus. Or, no, a6 minus, maybe. But definitely not b6 minus. Now that wall is over there, that's looking bad for you. Probably b5 capturing left now onto a5. 2b5 left, leaving one black behind on b5. Making the threat. Overall, yeah, I feel like the wall would have been great. That capture, I think, makes it difficult for black now. Black was in control, and now black is in a more precarious place. White dropping another wall here at a3 basically shuts him down. Yeah, even a flat does pretty good. Wow, this game has certainly turned around. I mean, black's not lost or anything, but they are in a much worse position than they would have been, and than they were in. White may be clawing this one back. What can black do here? And black's also lower on time now at 4 minutes on the clock. White up at 5 minutes 23. Now, I was wary about this one because white can come up onto a4 with that flat to stop that road threat there, and that's totally fine. So a3 plus here stops this road threat and basically shuts down black's chances over there unless black can get their capstone to the left-hand side, which they can't. Number one, because white's capstone's blocking it. Number two, because if they move that capstone at all, white's going to win with a road on the right-hand side of the board. So they would first need to probably self-capture onto f5 and then make a spread down. So, here as black, I mean, I might just play at c2. Or I might play at b4. That wall move felt very, very unnecessary. I feel like the a3 plus would have been a lot better there. Done the same thing and actually had your wall in a better position to be able to capture onto a5 later. Just seemed like a significantly better move there. So both players can make mistakes. It is a beginner tournament after all. Though we are seeing a pretty solid level of gameplay from these two players. It is always pretty awesome to see people improve dramatically over the course of a beginner tournament. It happens a lot. The ones who do make it to the quarterfinals and the semifinals and things like that, you can tell that the place they started when they played their first games in the group stages or right before the tournament started, very, very different place than when they ended. The improvement level is always just through the roof on these games. It is pretty incredible. I think here, as black, you want to do that. You want to bring the whole stack on E5 to the right onto F5. You'll be able to make this huge spread down on the bottom, and that'll be pretty brutal and very, very difficult to come back from for white. You can also make a play to smash that wall there on B3. So it works out pretty well. You probably can't make the play immediately. Let's see, you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 under there. So drop 1 and then 4, 5 again. Yeah, you could totally make the play in 2 moves. Now you can't make that play at all because white is making a tack threat. You need to bring F5 minus. I think that is black's only move at this juncture is F5 minus. And they have set themselves up for that. Basically, by playing here at B4, instead of bringing this cap over with the self-capture, they put themselves in a very difficult position where that is the only move that keeps them alive. Very, very tough spot. Black likely sees that move and is looking at other options to see if there's anything that'll work. I don't think anything else will work there. I think it has to be F5 minus. Because they can't touch... No, they missed it. They missed the road threat. They missed E6 left for the win. And white takes it. Spawnoza takes game 2 in this quarterfinals match. What that means is they are split in these 2 games. So congratulations, number 1 for Spawnoza for winning this game 2. And yeah, we'll have to see how they do on those blitz games. But that is all for today. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out the description below for all things TAC, especially the TAC Discord server, which is where you can find all sorts of TAC resources like strategy guides and people to play with, whether that be right here on playtac.com or asynchronously through the Discord server itself. You can find all sorts of people to play with, all sorts of resources, lots and lots of great stuff. So be sure to check that out. And until next time, have a great day and happy tacking.